Anyways, welcome, Jeffrey, Landy. How you doing?
I'm doing so great. Thank you, Martha, for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting podcast because you and I. What year did you work at Adobe? What years?
From 2012 to 2021,
2012 to 2021. So
nine big ones.
nine big ones. All right. So that's a long time to be in the Valley.
Yeah, that was my last gig in the Valley. I had a neighbor, David Welch. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
how I even landed at Adobe. He was my neighbor.
You got to be nice to our neighbors, right?
Yes.
Well, listen, I invited you because I saw that you were doing some cool stuff and, it resonated with me. And first of all, you were at Adobe and I was like, who is this guy and how come I never met him? And that was just just hard, in companies like that, 33,000 people, like how are you ever going to know everybody? But whether it's there or after, here we are. And
Yes.
I was fascinated by your journey, especially because you said that after Adobe, you started doing some other magical things outside of the US. And I was like, I want to know more. I want to know more and I want to know why. So, anyway, Jeffrey, I'm just going to let you kind of tell us what you've been doing and then we'll just kind of let the convo go.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Well, I was fortunate to have a really fulfilling, great career in tech. I was in software for 25 years in one form or another. And Adobe was my last chapter there. Um, but really, my journey in Nicaragua, which is what we're talking about here, primarily started right towards the end of my tenure at Adobe. And it really just came at a time in my life where it was, I would just say, the convergence of a couple of different forces. The first one is sort of simple. I have a lifelong history of travel and adventure. Been to a lot of places, and I've actually paused my career several times to feed that curiosity. But with Nicaragua, there was something different. I had a gut feeling before even the first time I went there that this was going to be a place where I would do something deeper, bigger, bolder, whatever you want to call it. And, I love when our instincts are spot on. I was right.
Yeah.
From the very first trip, the place just sort of captured my imagination, and and I loved it. And so shortly thereafter, I was looking for places to buy and to sort of plant in, and I wound up building a home in 2019.
That's amazing. I remember my first just exposure to somebody from Nicaragua. I've been here since I was a little baby in the 70s, and it must have been like late 70s that I met a couple kids that were coming in from Nicaragua. And at the time in the Silicon Valley, there was really not much diversity. So we met the
Mhm.
Nicaragua, what? Like we had to look it up in the map. They had a different accent.
Yes.
I remember the names being different too. It wasn't like Jose and Juan. It was Bismarck and I don't remember the other. Well, it was Fernando. That was good. But Bismarck, I was like, that's very unique. Um, Anyways, that was my first exposure into just starting to more diverse children,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what was happening in Nicaragua at the time. And obviously, there was a lot of stuff that was not good happening. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious, when did you end up going to Nicaragua? Why and what captured you about it?
Yeah.
Why Nicaragua?
I think my first trip was in 2018, and sorry, late 2017. And it was really in 2018 where I was in the process of, I found a place to buy a home. 2018 is where things really changed in Nicaragua in April of 2018. Actually, I was on the cusp of signing my deal to build my house when things exploded there with civil unrest. And honestly, since then, the country has been in a really tough place and kind of worsening year by year. But why Nicaragua? And trust me, I get that question. I'm Italian from New York. I have no Hispanic roots. But again, it was a gut feeling. I'm a surfer, right? Why, is it the earthly sort of treasures of Nicaragua are clear there. The beaches are beautiful, the jungle, the lakes, all of these things are lovely. But really, to me, that's all, just gravy, I guess. It's the always comes down to the individuals that you meet there. The story of Nicaragua is very difficult. I was just blown away about the way that people sustain, band together, the family roots, the cultures, despite the difficulties in the political environment and a really poor economy. So all of these things were just incredibly inspiring and scintillating to my mind. But I also realize I'm not going to be one of those gringos, man, that goes down to these places and like builds a house and just insulates themselves in a bubble and ignores what's around you and doesn't learn the language and all of that. And there are people that do that. It really bothers me. So
Mhm.
as soon as I felt even a teeny bit settled in Nicaragua, I was thinking about ways to contribute
Yeah.
to this place.
And so, tell us how you contributed.
Yeah, I mean, where do you start? I mean, I guess my brain just, the first thing I saw, Martha, there was this little neighborhood at the bottom of the hill where my house is, and it's just one of the harshest looking set of dwellings that I've seen, where you have full-fledged multi-generational families living in this place. And I think I heard that these places were displaced from a hurricane a long time ago. But that's what really, that you see every day as you come and go. But, doing some big housing project just obviously felt overwhelming to me. And so, but it got my mind running. And so basically, what I was thinking about fundamental human necessities like healthcare and education. And that's kind of the direction that I wound up going in. So, through my connections that were local, I wound up having a lunch with the leadership of the local hospital in San Juan del Sur. We have a small hospital there run by the Ministry of Health, the government of Nicaragua. The director and his team came to the lunch. I introduced myself, and I just, was like, tell me about your greatest challenges in servicing your community. And we had a great conversation that day. And there were many, but really it was pretty surprising to me at the time. The team was unequivocal. They said, look, oral health is a major problem, a huge gap in this area, in all areas of Nicaragua, particularly when you crawl out of the town and you get into remote villages and barrios. No access to dental care, zero education on the matter. So, okay, I heard them. And long story short, together we co-created a mobile dental project. I dubbed it Sonrisas Felices,
I
Happy
love
Smiles.
that.
Um, and in 20, like right before the pandemic hit, I bought a bunch of equipment that we would need, brought it in the country, and then COVID came, and the hospital obviously got quite distracted that year, servicing, really dealing with some hard stuff. But that year, we sort of got a couple of pilots out there. We got out in the field a little bit. We learned some things, but it really wasn't until 2021, the end of 2020, that we put a lot of structure. We created a big founding document about our mission, and we formalized this program. So since 2020 is when we began, really 2021, we started to take off. And now, Martha, we do 3 clinics per week out in the field. We go as far as 30 miles away on horrible roads into all these nooks and crannies. So we do 144 clinics per year. A third of those are at schools. Really interesting development last year with the program was we got the approval from the Ministry of Education to not only get into the classrooms and talk to the kids about oral health and give them brushes and pastes, but actually take it to the next level and do procedures on the kids at the schools with parental consent.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so this is what we're doing week in, week out. And according to the director of the hospital and the community leaders in these places, we are really, really making a strong imprint on transforming oral health in the whole municipality.
Now you're not a dentist.
I definitely am not.
No,
I've
no,
learned a lot though.
yeah, but that's the interesting part because, one of the things I've noticed of people who want to help, it's they see a need. And even if they don't know it, they get the people that do. And so that's what you did. You're like, I see this need. I'm gonna go talk to the health people that know more than I do. And I'm gonna run this because you're used to running things and orchestrate it, and it's gonna get done. And I mean, seriously, 6 years. I mean, that's not very long that you've been doing this. And to have that amount of growth because of the amount of need is just incredible. So I commend you for that, Jeffrey. So
Thank you.
awesome. And people can,
Yeah.
I think I told you my background and why I was fascinated about the whole oral care thing, because I am from one of those remote towns in Mexico. And I noticed the first time I went back, I was a teenager, people would cover their mouths, when they would smile. You said sonrisas felices, happy smiles. And there's a lot of happy people, but nobody was showing their smiles.
Yes.
And it was because the water in the area was the same water that cows would walk through.
Right.
And no matter how much my grandma would boil, because they would boil the water to, take out all of the whatever little pests inside, whatever it was inside.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just gross, but
Yep.
that's how you live. That's how you live. And so the teeth in the town, black spots everywhere, yellow spots everywhere. And yeah, I mean, it didn't matter if you brushed 2 or 3 times a day, your teeth were still going to end up bad.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with like your foundational, pieces of sustenance, your water is contributing to this. It goes beyond just behavioral problems
Yeah.
like bringing ultra processed foods into the house. Another thing that we're dealing with, but that's just it's really hard. And I have to say, one of the things that makes me smile most, I get daily updates. We talk to the team every day, and is sometimes we come across people. We do basic dental for people. We do cleanings and extractions and cavity fillings and consultations, but we come across cases that we can't, that are more advanced. And sometimes we actually pay for people to go to private clinics to get work done. And my favorite part of this whole program is when we take a child who is like this,
Yeah.
and we get their teeth fixed or restored. And then you just, you see the before and after of that child is able to, be a
Yeah.
kid and smile and laugh, without the stigma. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Do you do like before and after pictures?
In those cases, we do photos. I get a lot of photos from the clinics.
Yeah.
Team is busy and it's lean,
Yeah.
and so sometimes I
You're
get
trying to
nothing.
get work done. You're trying to
I
get
know the
work
work is getting done, but it's like, hey, where's my marketing material, people?
Well, you're talking to a marketer, and I'm like, before,
Exactly.
after. Like, this is
Yeah.
what you're not giving them dental care, you're giving them smiles.
I'm like, come on, people, more children, children open wallets. Let's go.
Children of their wallets. No, but seriously, I think that sometimes if we get beyond kind of the surface level, we're just doing dentistry. We're actually giving people smiles and the opportunity to express themselves. Like, how beautiful is that?
Yeah, well, and the team at the hospital had the wisdom. Like, I didn't know this at the time. I do now because I'm steeped in it. But they knew that poor oral health, starting at kid age, just amplifies and turns into multiple chronic diseases down the line,
Absolutely.
right? And shortness of life. So
I didn't
so
realize it could shorten your life. Mm.
it's one of top markers of life longevity.
Interesting, interesting. So you also in addition to what you're doing there, you had told me that you also have another effort in
Yeah,
Nicaragua.
yeah.
Where can you tell us a little bit about? You're just helping all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, really, this boils down to kind of two projects. First is Sonrisas Felices, which actually has two parts. I'll just quickly talk about the second part. I don't want to minimize it, actually, but the dental is one piece, and then we have an education arm. So what we're doing there, and this is more for individuals, we are basically providing college scholarships for girls. Okay, so these are girls of low-income families in San Juan del Sur that actually performed well in high school, have that fire in their belly to keep going, but right, their family situations, their economic situations are tough. So what we do is we go through a process of application, qualification, and all of that. But we basically sponsor. I have 3 girls that are sponsored to go to public university to study whatever they choose, and we pay for everything. It's either a 4 or 5 year commitment, right? Tuition there for public university is very low, but if they're going away, housing, food, transport, books, laptop, digital device, all of it. And so we have 3 girls now. One's graduating this year with her teaching degree and has already landed a job, which we're so proud about. I have a dentistry student.
Nice.
Right? Because I think we talked about this concept of incubation, and I use the expression caldo de cultivo.
Nice.
Right?
Nice for an Italian guy.
Yeah, exactly. So Frances goes to dentistry school. She's halfway through. She comes out. She joins Sonrisas, gets valuable fieldwork experience, services her own community that she loves to service, and around we go.
Yeah, you know what I love about this, and one of the reasons we're talking is that you are enabling these girls and these kids to see that they can do things in their own country. And, I do a lot here in the United States, but I've also had the experience with my own family where my aunts, my mom's sisters, study to be educators in Mexico. Very minimal amount of dollars compared to here, and they were able to educate more people in their country, and as a result, a lot of the people they educated did not have to immigrate to the United States because their lives, although they were not we're not rich, but it was definitely much better than some of the dwellings and situations that you mentioned at the beginning.
Yes.
So I wanted to bring attention to helping out in other countries as well to minimize. I'm not a politician by any chance. I'm just a person that wants to do good and connect myself to other people who are doing good and just learn from what we're seeing.
Yes.
This is real stuff.
This is real stuff, and I completely agree with you. That's why it's very important to me, even as things are getting tougher in the country, squeeze is on more than ever there for people. Young people really struggle to see a future in Nicaragua, but I basically call it the granito de arena, the grain of sand. I'm kind of tossing in my grains to help there on the ground. So it's very important to me that the team, everything we're doing is local. The supplies I buy for the program, 90% are bought in country. I have 4 providers that are wonderful, right? And just, trying to lift up. And to me, it's not just my opinion. I think it's a worldwide sort of truth. So to me, I really believe in this, and that's what Sonrisas is in a nutshell. It's like dental for masses, education for girls, and that's project number 1.
Yeah, project number 1.
And then there's the other thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then Frances is going to take her projects and maybe educate other kids and girls to be a dentist or something like that. She becomes now, I don't know if it's the same as in Mexico, but anybody who gets an education is called a doctora or maestra. Like they're looked upon in their little communities as like the top. Now this person's going to become a leader in their community and hopefully learns from you and does bigger things.
You and I had a great exchange about this, the butterfly effect, right?
Yes.
Frances treats thousands of patients and inspires other. Dayling teaches thousands of kids, opens up their minds. Mareri is going to fix thousands of animals because she's in veterinary medicine. This is what we do. This is the way to go.
This is what we do. And all we need is one of the things that I know, because I'm storytelling storyteller. That's where I think it's, we get the Franceses of the world telling her story,
Yes.
just like you're talking right now. And then that's how she inspires and says, look, this is where I live. This is what I've learned. She gets very specific with what she's done so that other people can do it too. And yeah, I'm all for the butterfly effect. I'd love to talk to Frances one of these days in Espanol and get
Yes.
her, right? I just thought of that. Like, let's get her recorded and talk about her experience and socialize that not only in Nicaragua, but maybe for other third world countries to see, and for people just to kind of, see how helping people in other countries actually stops a lot of the things that are happening here.
Yes. Right. Getting to root cause.
Root causes, exactly. We can only do what we can do, but your visits to surfing in other worlds and look have led you to this, and I think it's no accident that that this is happening. We have a big problem, right, in this country, and depending on who you're talking to, it is hard to be in this country and people don't realize it. And I don't know if it's the same in Nicaragua, but I remember going to Mexico as a teenager and the aspiration was to come to the United States. Like, voy a ir al norte, I'm going to the north. Like these are little kids that are 6 years old and they look at you in your nice flannel and they want that. They want that. How do I have that? And they
Yes.
don't realize that when they come here, it's a lot of suffering. It's a lot of suffering. You're going to live in poverty. You so many not so good things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm all for nipping it in the bud if we could, but also we need to be empathetic to learning why people are here. Like you said, the situations are not good.
No, it's tough. I mean, an estimated 10% of the Nicaraguan population has fled the country since 2018. I mean, think about that. It's not
That's
a big
huge.
country, but that's kind of mind blowing. Um, and I think information flows so freely now that people that do come to the United States and are in those beginning phases and obviously struggling, word gets back about the struggle, about the cost of living here, about the conditions,
Yeah.
which gives people that are thinking of making the jump, think twice a little. And
Yeah.
I have a couple people in Nicaragua that I know personally that were on the brink of leaving their families to come and were otherwise dissuaded not to.
Yeah. When we do leave our countries, it's going to be 10, 15, 20 years before we see our families again. And, that's not a small decision.
Oh, please
And,
no.
people who haven't had to go through that, it's, uh, anyways, I'm just glad there's more socialization about that so that it's stopping people from
Yeah.
doing that. My father, he was raised by his grandmother anyways. 15 years later, he gets a call that his grandma is dying and he has no way of getting to her because of situations here in the United States. He wouldn't be allowed back. And you just might never see them again.
It's just
So that's
mind bending notion.
imagine leaving and just wondering if you're ever going to see them again, and
Right.
just basically just hoping for a janitorial job or picking strawberries. Like that's the dream. Are you kidding me? That should
Right.
not be the dream. That should not be the dream. It should be either becoming a dentist, a professor, those kinds of things. So
Like
um
what you've done, Martha. You are the shining example.
thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm very, very blessed. And this is why I don't think it's an accident that I've been on both sides. I've been on both sides.
Yes.
And so I feel like I have a duty to talk about both sides because I've been on this side, like Francis, on that side, but didn't get the help. And I was a little child and I could have just gone on my life and pick cotton like my parents did.
Yep.
But I ended up over here undocumented and lived the life that I'm talking to you about. And it was not, I live with 8 other people here in the United States, but it was better than in the third world country. At least I had water. I had, there were electricity, like we
Yep.
had floors, walls, like simple things like that.
Yep.
And that to my mom and my dad was already better than we had in that other country. So had it been better over there, they would have not left. Like my aunts, they didn't leave. They didn't leave. Now that said, for anybody who's here, I want them to know both sides. And I'm sure there's rich people in Nicaragua, you
Yeah.
know? There's rich people in Nicaragua. They don't have to go anywhere. You know, they have maids and this and that, just like in Mexico, but that's not who we're talking about here.
Correct. That's correct.
That's not
That
who we're
is
talking
the
about here.
super minority.
Super minority. And, so I was helped. I was helped my whole life. And, I'm 51 years old. And if I just look back, I've had many, many people along my life that have basically said, stop, you're good at this, do that. You're good at that, do that. And I always say that the good outweighed the bad. And that's
Yep.
a very important ratio. Very, very important ratio.
Yes, it is.
So it is possible. It is possible.
Of course. Of
We
course.
we we just we just are need to learn and be taught a little differently.
And hear the stories. And that's what you're doing with your foundation, right? You are out there telling the stories and teaching the young people how to tell a story and how to receive the story.
How
Yeah.
to and how to own their own stories.
Yep.
So I hope that on the next, when we have your girls on this podcast, I get some of their story out, because I know that people are ashamed to talk about their stories. They're ashamed to say they're from this and that. But I really see a lot of beauty in the journey in getting from here to here. And
Yes.
if they just understand that by them vocalizing that story, they can help all of these people here. Um, it almost becomes like I must talk.
Absolutely. Well, and hey, Martha, just to quickly talk about the second thing,
Yeah.
which
Bring it
actually
back.
I spend most of my time and energy on, simply because it's actually a bit more of a challenging. Sonrisas Felices is a pretty well-oiled machine now, and I'm really focused on fundraising and supporting and things like that. But I also own a small business there in San Juan del Sur, and I have two partners in this effort. But basically, we have two parts to the business. It's a restaurant, and across the street from the restaurant is a vivero, plant
What's a
nursery,
vivero? What's a vivero?
a plant nursery.
Ah, okay.
And in the vivero, we also offer, gardening and landscaping services to the community as well. And in this business, we employ deaf staff. So we have deaf Nicaraguans that work in the restaurant and the vivero. And the whole idea was, when I think about healthcare, right, education and work, right? I mean,
Work.
access to work and the dignity that comes with that, everything that comes with that, was another area that was of real interest to me and my partner. So the whole idea was, let's create a business, though, not a charity, and make it a social mission, right? So we're a for-profit small business with a social mission to employ differently abled people. We didn't know what that meant. We discovered a whole group, a huge, not huge, but a pretty sizable segment of the population of young deaf Nicaraguans, really just in the shadows of society, languishing at home, working maybe at home for their folks, but like they're just not out there.
Yeah.
So we found these folks. We did these focus groups. I mean, it was just crazy, and we wound up hiring a bunch of people. And so, yeah, I'm also learning Nicaraguan Sign Language, which is doubling up my, like, okay, I have to translate Spanish to this one now.
Is it different? I'm sorry, I don't. Is it different than the English one?
Yeah. Every
Ah,
country's sign language is unique to the country,
okay.
but there are overlaps, right? So I would say what I've observed about Nicaraguan sign language is there's maybe, almost maybe 40-50% overlap with ASL.
Mhm.
But there's just a ton that's, I mean, it's a great for anyone who wants to read an insane anthropological story, read about Nicaraguan Sign Language. It was created by school children in the 1980s from scratch,
Wow.
essentially, just so they could communicate and learn.
Hmm.
And so it's a really new language in the annals of human history. And it's just an incredibly inspiring story that came out of the 80s. And so this is a new element, but that whole concept that we've talked about of incubation is very resonant here. What we want for these young people is to, work, gain experience, gain confidence, and then get out.
Yeah.
Go find a job somewhere else in the world, in society, right? Because now you have the confidence, you can prove yourself, you belong there. Our cooks belong in any kitchen. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Right? We just have to help that through. And then when they do that, and we've had 3 people matriculate out and get jobs that were closer to where they were living, then we bring in the next person, right?
Yeah.
Then we bring in the next person that needs a job and the next person.
Yeah.
So it's been just really incredible. Everything about the project is very beautiful, except the finances.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know what? I can anticipate these people that you're helping bring back some of that to help your finances, and it'll just start circulating, right? We just have to
Sure.
accelerate that. I love that you said that, you took people from behind the shadows, because, it's almost like when you don't know what to do with them or communicate with humans like this, they feel there might be a sense of like, I don't feel valued in this family, like I'm the black sheep or whatever. But and you're giving them that value and that confidence. So that's what we need. We can all add value. We just need to know how to get it out. And so thank you, Jeffrey, for doing that for them. How amazing.
Oh, it is amazing. I mean, I don't think a lot of the community even knew that these people were among them, right?
Right.
I mean, so it's really brought a whole new twist to the community. We do get a lot of support from people who love to just come in, not only eat delicious meal, but learn how to sign, how to sign with the staff, how to communicate. We do classes sometimes, that people show up to, and it's beautiful to see.
It's beautiful to see. How do you assign beautiful in Nicaraguan?
Beautiful. Let's see. That's a good question.
Bonito or
Bonito.
feliz?
Felices like this, right?
Oh, this makes me so feliz. This is awesome. This is awesome. Jeffrey, thank you so much for look, thank you for
That's like this.
everything. Gracias. Oh, so that's isn't it that okay. Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias. This has been amazing. I just wanted to socialize some of the amazing work that somebody from here, from the Silicon Valley, that has taken something that he didn't even know. He didn't even know how to do and has made it this big, amazing thing so that people are more feliz in
Yeah.
their own countries, and we can do something about it. Just because we're here, it doesn't mean we can't do something other places. And I think there is value in doing something at the root.
Yes. There is no doubt, and just the personal adventure that this represents in my life. It's just so different and fulfilling. I can't even describe in words.
I get it. I get it.
I
'Cause
mean, I like my career in tech, but I mean, this is like 1,000x.
yeah,
It just fills my heart
yeah.
like nothing else.
And anybody who's listening to us from any industry, tech, you have the opportunity to help, Sonrisas Felices. We'll put all of your information on, just send it to me, we'll put it all. You can help these organizations. And you can see like the amount of heart that you're going to feel when you do this, and it doesn't require a lot. Like you said, it requires minimal, and you have these amazing impactful stories. So thank you so much. We'll put all of that. Jeffrey, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to tell everybody?
No, Martha, I mean, I'm just so grateful for this. This is my first actual podcast appearance.
Really? This is awesome.
Yeah, I know. I was so looking forward to it because I listen to them all the time, and I'm like, oh, that
Now
sounds like
you're in them.
I'm in one. Um, but no, just that's really the phase I'm in right now. I've just been really focusing this year on outreach to the Hispanic American, different Hispanic American communities here in the States. And the response has been really tremendous. And I just thank you so much for inviting me to do this.
And thank you for just speaking about it and saying yes to me. And I'm glad that I'm your first. And then for anybody else that has been asked to be on any podcast and we have an amazing story, it's not that scary, right, Jeffrey?
I mean, I was a solution consultant at Adobe, presenting all the time in front of, the big wigs. So
we can all do it. We can all do it. And these amazing girls that you talked about, we're gonna have them on Moments with Martha soon, and we'll do it in Espanol, and we'll get them to tell their story, and it's gonna be amazing. And then you're gonna populate that out to Nicaragua, okay?
yes, absolutely. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Gracias, Jeffrey.
Muchas gracias.
So Jeff Landi, thank you so much for your insights. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Thank you so much for your time on my podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this was your first time. You did amazing. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody, the next episode, part 2 of Jeff Landi's podcast, is going to give you so many insights as to why we might consider stories from the other side. Now, this other side is actually from the girls that Jeff Landi has been helping out in the amazing place of Nicaragua. So thank you so much, everybody. And I look forward to the podcast with the amazing woman from Nicaragua. Adios.